Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Daredevil number 227, cover dated February 1985. The cover is by David Mazzucchelli. This is a iconic cover featuring Daredevil there and the crosshair sights of a telescopic lens, so targeted for assassination, and in the background, huge like a monolith, hovering there over New York City, Midtown Manhattan. We have got the Empire State Building. We have the Twin Towers there as key landmarks. Is the massive figure of the Kingpin, a close-up there on his face. Really, really well done. We've got the three primary colors of color printing for 1970s, 80s comics. So we've got cyan there for the Kingpin, we've got magenta here for the cover caption, Apocalypse, and we've got the yellow there for the city that divides the Kingpin from Daredevil. I like little details that Mazzucchelli has worked in here, including the plume of smoke from the Kingpin cigar that describes his obscured eye there. The eye is in silhouette, but the plume of smoke picks it out. So it gives us the sense of the Kingpin's two eyes there, that kind of knitted brow of his as he is contemplating Daredevil here as his target. Really, really great cover. There is a particular craft technique that Mazzucchelli is using here, that of the color hold for the Kingpin here in the background. And also, you'd almost think that the cityscape there was a photo, but it's not. It's all pen and ink, and including the cutting in of white media for the description of some of the tiers of the Empire State Building there. So really an iconic cover, a classic by Mazzucchelli. Let's open this one up. Oh wait, one last thing, Apocalypse. So that word, of course, it's a word that has a meaning in our everyday use. It kind of means the end of the world, but it's a word taken from Greek. And it's a word for the last book of the Bible. It's what Catholics call the last book of the Bible, the book of Apocalypse. And of course, it's associated with the end of the world. But what does the word mean in Greek? Because the book of Apocalypse is written in Greek, it means what Protestants call the book of Apocalypse, Revelation. So end of the world and Revelation, and that is very, very pertinent to what is coming in this particular comic story. So this is chapter 1, so to speak, of Born Again, and it is a perfect comic in my opinion. This first page here, there's a surprise character for long-time readers of Daredevil. Let's get into a little bit of the third-person narration. It's a hot day, like all the rest. All 2 years of them. 2 years and the motion picture epic that turned into just another come on isn't even a memory. So then we're into the dialogue in this particular panel. Yeah, sure, I'm sure I seen one of your flicks. You're big at the stag parties. What's your name again? Asks this tubby piece of lard here sitting back on the chair. She says Paige, Karen Page. So Karen Page in the original Daredevil comics was Matt Murdock's and Foggy Nelson's secretary in their law firm. And of course a love interest for Matt Murdock. So it's a shock seeing her again. 2 years in Marvel time, but in terms of publishing time, the last time that Karen Page featured in a Marvel comic was Marvel 2-in-1, number 46 from 1978. So it's been roughly 8 years since any reader has seen her, and she is a very different person from the one that appeared in that particular comic and the earlier Daredevil or the earlier issues of this particular volume of Daredevil. And then we're back into the third person narration like all the rest, except this one has a special glow to it. It's not every day you sell your soul. There's no way to think. That's no way to think. Grow up. It's the 80s. You do what you have to, and you have to do it. So this is almost like a devil's voice, a voice of temptation here, justifying to Karen what she's about to do. Look, this is worth something, she says, in respect of the envelope she's holding in her hand. Take it to the States and you'll get $1 million for it. So the guy says there, girl will say lots when she's hungry. Things I hear. Want a shot? No, didn't think so. Not a shot of booze anyway, he says. And she's not listening to him. She says Daredevil. Okay, I said it. I said the name. And he's got another name. And it's written down right here. You want it or not. Because long-time readers would remember that Karen knew Daredevil's secret identity. knew that Daredevil was really Matthew Murdock. And what is the trope or device of the secret identity in superhero comics? What's it all about? Why does Spider-Man wear a costume, wear a mask? Because he doesn't want his enemies getting back at him through his family and friends. And we're going to see that trope, once it's violated, play out here in Born Again. But thinking also about Mazzucchelli's work on this page, stunning work on the page, such amazing body language that he's conveying there for a broken woman that is Karen Page. He's using another 1980s craft technique on this page. It's called duo tint, and you can get two values of grey from it, a darker grey and a lighter grey. So he's working that in here, a little bit of white media too. It's really, really excellent work. Mazzucchelli penciling and inking this. So let's turn the page. Like even the little detail of the fan here with the streamers blowing as well. It's also very, very well done. Turn the page. Perfect layouts on all of these pages. Really great stuff. 6 weeks later, all just as hot. So it's the Kingpin's Midtown Manhattan building. And our guy is there with the envelope. East Coast connections done right by you, Tonio. Just look at all this. Not like the old days, says the guy from the first page. Old days, we had time on our hands. Raldo, so now we know his name. Right now I got 5 minutes. So he's all business. Look at the layout of the office there. So perfectly rendered and realized a 1980s, a mid-1980s Midtown Manhattan office. Perfect. Even the detail of the coffee table with the magazines on it there. So what does Raldo say? Your time's worth plenty, Tonio. And what I got's worth plenty of plenty. Daredevil's secret identity. So Tonio says, that's worth your life, Raldo? Oh no, this is good, man. So he hands over the closed envelope. Looks like Mazzucchelli was using some life reference for this figure. Mazzucchelli, Klaus Janson, I was at a conference where Klaus Janson said that Mazzucchelli didn't use any photo reference for his work on Born Again. But that's not to say he wasn't using life models, that he wasn't out sketching. He did use models now and then. Like, for instance, he used his wife Richmond Lewis to model for Catwoman in Batman Year One, which is coming up a year after all of this, in terms of a next future collaboration with Frank Miller. But back to this one, which is, as I've said earlier, perfection. And very soon at a much cooler place. I really like that transition there in the third person narration. And what a panel here. Everything in silhouette with the reds and magentas there, conveying the dark red of the sunset somewhere out in the Caribbean, one would imagine. And the Kingpin is in the middle of a business meeting. He dismisses his men, but one of them speaks up. Oh, excuse me, sir. Sir, it's from Mexico. Might not be anything. Calling him the Kingpin. That covers him well as any word can. Saying he's the boss of everything bad that makes money in what must be most of the free world. And look at this anchor image here of the Kingpin. He looks like a mountain of muscle. And huge, immense, physically imposing. And mostly in shadow as well. Somebody that you wouldn't want to mess with at all in any respect. So the guy continues. He's holding up the envelope. It's Tonio. He says, my cousin down there. This is another guy, Tonio. I wouldn't bring it up, but you said to keep the lines out for this. Local pusher down there says he met Daredevil's old lady. His old lady, says for an armful she sold his name. So now we have it confirmed that Karen Page is a drug addict, a heroin addict. That wasn't 100% clear on the first page, but we're getting it here now. And Kingpin is lowering his sunglasses there to get a better look at the guy. His real name, he's stuttering, he's bumbling. Kingpin knows exactly. Look at that knotted brow there. That serious eye that we saw on the cover. I know what you mean. Give it to me, he says. Everybody leaves. Except for Wesley, of course. I really like this third-person narration. He always sticks around for any last-minute orders. And then think about this. Think about what Frank Miller adds in now. Just this little kind of detail observation on how people relate to each other in respect of a dominance hierarchy, which is why everybody's so nice to Wesley. I just love that little detail. And the Kingpin gives him orders: turn the yacht back to New York, locate everyone who has touched this envelope or spoken to anyone who has, and await the kill order, says the Kingpin. The Kingpin is all business, and he is no fool. In the meantime, I shall test the information, he says, and 6 months pass. What a great prologue for this story. There's 24 pages of story here, and here's our splash page, and we get all our information. We have the cover caption as our title of this issue, Apocalypse, but we have there rendered in the color the implication of fire. So something's about to burn down. And all of the third person narration there is worth reading. Winter hits Manhattan like an unwanted relative, drops in with no warning and seems to stay forever. It spreads, a thick white blanket that makes the city look clean for a few hours until the snow gets stepped on and driven over and made gritty and dirty grey. Now remember, Frank Miller had lived in New York. He moved down from Vermont to live in New York in the late 70s, and he has experience of a Manhattan winter personally. Around this time, though, he's moved off to Los Angeles, and from that distance, he's remembering and rendering perfectly in prose here the essence of a Manhattan winter. Really, really good stuff. So then we get some information about the figure here in the bed. It's Matt Murdock. Our title, our creative team, by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. So these two getting pride of place in the credits. Christy Shield on colours, Joe Rosen letters, and that rounds out the creative team. So it's morning in Manhattan, and Matt is waking up. Every other part of him is so far away. I don't drink, he thinks. I didn't drink last night. This only feels like a hangover. Daredevil, a victim. That's what I am, and that's what Daredevil is, a victim of radiation. So we're getting his origin there for any new readers who might be coming on board just for this storyline. He's getting into his dressing gown there, and we continue. So we're in his first person narration. I listen to the muffled beeps and bleating of a grouchy city gone grouchier. I shake one or two of the cobwebs from my brain. What did I get up? Why did I get up this morning? Don't have any appointments, don't even have a job. So that's what's going on in the continuity at this point in time for Matt Murdock. He's not practicing law in the continuity, and I'd better lay off crime fighting until my knuckles heal, he says. A tiny icy draft cuts across my lower calf, reminding me, and that'll take us over to the next page, but let's just linger a little on the work that Mazzucchelli has done here on the interior of Matt's brownstone, and also the craft technique once again of the colour hold here for the winter scene outside the bay window. Really, really nice stuff. Really excellent work. So he's pencils and inking with a brush. And here we go, the transition into the rest of his first person narration. Drafts from the mail chute. Heard the mail slip through it and hit the floor. That's what woke me up. That's why I got out of bed. It's about time for the job offers to start coming in. So there's the mail on the ground there. And great use of perspective. We get another look at the rest of his apartment. The masks on the wall, that was all established in Frank Miller's original run. And he hunkers down to pick up the mail. I read the envelopes with my fingers. The embossed ones are easy, going by the scant impression of the ink on the others is a pain. So a recognition of the fact that Matthew Murdock is actually blind. He is blind. And so some aspects of his life are difficult on account of that. Nothing with the masthead of a law firm, he continues. Word must not have gotten out yet that the hottest attorney since F. Lee Bailey is up for grabs. Amazing how long it takes for the news to circulate when you want it to. So he continues, and then he opens up this particular letter. A notice from Internal Revenue that my tax files are being audited and that every penny I have is frozen until the audit is complete. All this before coffee. So what a morning. But look at this page. Again, great work from Mazzucchelli on this mid-1980s equipment. The coffee maker there. The radio with the cassette player. The pots and pans here hanging in his kitchen area, the potted plant there as well. Just such great detail. I love all of it. It's so magisterially done. So he's on the phone, and he is he's gotten one tape in one of his pieces of mail, which he's playing there in the tape player. It's from his girlfriend Glory, and she's talking to him as he's on the phone to his accountant, and she's saying to him, "You don't seem to be home much. You're never home for me anyway." And he's talking to his accountant Sid about the letter he got from the IRS, and something's going wrong here. It's what do you mean to say? What do you mean, Sid? He says, "You've been my accountant for..." You can't mean this, Sid. Lying to you? Sid, my records are spotless. And then Glory's continuing, "This may not be the best way to say this to you, Matt, and I know this is already a bad time for you, but I'm out of patience, Matt, the way you treat me. I'm through with you. Maybe if you'd let me in on what's plaguing you, I'd appreciate you not making this all any more difficult. What I'm saying is that I'd rather you didn't call me." And so his accountant has put the phone down on him, telling him that he's been lying to him. Glory's broken up with him, doesn't want to call back. There's someone knocking on the door. All this before coffee, still hasn't had his coffee yet. Who's at the door? Well, it's a subpoena demanding my presence at a grand jury hearing, not as a witness. So, there we go. Things are going from bad to worse. 1 hour later uptown, again, look at the use of the colour hold. Love the implication of snow here on the rooftop of this particular building. And I've always been fascinated by the accent of this particular lawyer here. "You're a disease moth, you," he says. "I'm risking my standing just by talking with you. If the charge had been made by any other cop, any other moth you, but Nicholas Manoli, 20 years of impeccable performance, far be it from me to judge you," he says. "But this is a sworn statement from Lieutenant Manoli. He says he saw you pay a witness to perjure himself in that Hendricks case." So Matt is stunned. "I can't believe Nick Maloney would do this, not for anything." And the guy says, "We never had this conversation, moth you." What is that accent? Any American subscribers out there, tell me, what is Miller going for there, moth you? Is there an implication that this guy is from a particular part of the country? Which part would you say? And whatever you do, he says, don't harass Manoli, wouldn't be good form. Secretary there on the way, this is dark comedy, have a nice day, don't push it, he says. But again, just love the furnishing of this room here by Mazzucchelli. It's so well done, such real world detail, an implication of an 18th, 19th century decor here in the room, and what that implies about the wealth of the guy behind the desk. Really good stuff. And we get a tall, thin, establishing shot here. Night falls too quickly. So it's the part of town that Glory lives in, Hell's Kitchen. And Foggy's arrived. And her apartment has been wrecked. She's on the ground. She says, took everything, Foggy. Came home and they'd taken everything. What kind of people would do this? Hateful city. She continues, hateful, scares me worse than Belfast bombs and all, because she's from Northern Ireland. They ruined my pictures, Foggy. What kind of people? So Foggy says to her, you're safe, Glory. That's what counts. Come on, I'll fix you a cup of coffee. She doesn't want to stay in her apartment. It's been violated. No, not here with everything broken and skewed around. I can't stay here tonight, she says. Use of a screen tone here for the shadows on her face as well. Another one of these tall vertical establishing shots for the exterior of the Daily Bugle. And we have the first person narration of Ben Urich. My name is Ben Urich, he says. I'm a reporter. I'm working the night shift at a great metropolitan newspaper when a piece of dynamite is dropped on my desk. It's not the kind that hisses. It's just rustles in Robertson's hand. So Robbie Robertson gives Ben a piece of computer paper there with something on it that he wants Ben to check out. Again, I love the detail of Ben's office with the typewriter there, the telephone, the rotary telephone, the desk lamp, the potted plants there in the office too. It's all So really, really well thought out and rendered. And Yorick, his eyes pop. It's disguised as an Associated Press wire, he says, that says Matt Murdock faces a host of criminal charges, including bribery, perjury, and misconduct. Matt Murdock is the most honest man I know. So he gets on the phone to Matt. One thing too that long-time readers would know is that Ben Urich knows that Matt is Daredevil. He figured it out. So he knows that. So he's on the phone to Matt and he's saying, Matt, if it's off the record, you know you can trust me. Matt, I'm your friend, remember? But he laughs. The line goes dead. The laugh seems to echo through the office. I tried to match it with the man who saved my life. I worry not about his honesty, but the implication is about his sanity. So we're back into Matt's first person narration. The bank insists I haven't paid them. They threaten to foreclose. I lose my temper and yell at them and they hang up on me. So Matt's going, he's on the edge, and we continue. This is another great down shot on Matt at his desk in his home. And in his first person narration, we learn I pull out my checkbook and run my fingers across the stubs. They're written with a ballpoint pen. Leaves deep, easy to read grooves in the paper. I wrote the checks all right, on time like all my bills, but there's no sign of them in my monthly statements. The bank never cashed them. Maybe they were lost in the mail. I love the way his fingers are knotted together there with the stress as he's thinking, with my money frozen by the IRS, how can I? And then he thinks I hate money. So he has an alter ego and he's going to get into that. Outside, the snow has turned to sleet, trying to chip away the walls around me. Something loose and wild flows through the city. I feel my pulse quicken like a jungle drum. It's the night I have always loved it. I grab the weightless bundle of cloth, the only part of my life worth living anymore. The one relief I can give myself when it all gets to be too much. Daredevil. And then this is great, where he is running around the city. Fantastic art here by Mazzucchelli. Combination of techniques, pencil, ink, but also white media cut into things. A little bit of duotone as well. She greets me with a blast of wind and her endless angry roar. She hums with power and tickles my legs with 1,000 flirting fingers, laughs at me, blows a gust of filthy smoke in my face, tricks me with slippery stone, rattles her windows with delight as I move across her, feeling her warmth. It's really great prose, and it gives you a sense of his animal enjoyment of leaping around the city. But what's a regular human's perspective on it? What's a comfort-loving perspective on it? Getting nasty out there, huh? Boy, seems just yesterday it was fall. So for Foggy, it's nasty outside. For Matt, it's like making love to the city. And does that mean like that he's crazy in a way? So Foggy's here with Glory. I love the colors on this page. I love the implication of the darkness of the room there. They just have the light of the fire. They're cozy inside, and Glory's cozying up to Foggy, and he's putting his hand down on top of hers, but then he catches himself. Well, you look at the time, and he's gone red in the face as well. Love that little detail. Better get to bed. And then just look at this drawing that Mazzucchelli's pulled off. Like those hooded eyes. Like she's falling for Foggy because he's there for her, unlike Matt, who's distant and not around. But Foggy's a gentleman. He says he'll take the couch. Let's continue. And then we have Matt. He's out in the night, but he's got a mission. And he is operating like a criminal, cutting out a piece of the window in order to open the window from the inside. And whose house is he in? He's in Nick Manoli's house. 20 years, Nick, says Daredevil. Why start lying now? And again, just such a really well conveyed kitchen here. The large fridge with all of the elements inside, like the orange juice there. It's a piece of fruit, maybe an apple there as well. He's gone to the fridge for more beer. He's drunk. He says to Daredevil, get out of my home. And Daredevil insists, it's all wrong, Nick. I know you. And I have to know why you're trying to ruin Matt Murdock. So Manoli smashes the beer bottle. Daredevil, of course, is an easy match for Manoli. Love the decision to have an open border panel here. He sends him flying onto the table, thinks about torturing him for the information. But Manoli says, I said get out of my house. Love this angle here, the close-up on his socks, his face there on the horizontal. And then Mazzucchelli switches the angle and we're looking down. We see the mess that's being made in the kitchen. The remains of the smashed beer there on the side of the fridge. The tablecloth bunched up where Manoli fell on the table. Yeah, really good stuff. The beer bottle there on the ground. And then the curtains blowing in the night. Daredevil's gone. So Manoli, he gets on the phone, the rotary phone. Who's he calling? Whoever it is, he says. He showed up. Yeah, Daredevil. I did what you said to. About my boy. Doctor said he needs that treatment soon. So the reader's inferring Manoli, with that impeccable reputation for 20 years, someone's found a way to lean on him to write and sign a false statement against Matt Murdock, and it's because his boy is sick and needs treatment soon. We'll get more about that in the developing storyline. But Daredevil, he's up on the roof, he's listening to everything. He goes on about his boy and how he'll say whatever they want him to at the hearing. This is the grand jury. A symphonic version of the theme to Kojak is getting into full swing, so I missed the voice on the other end of the line. It's hard to stomach the music or Nick's whining. So I leave him at the mercy of his guilty conscience. I've learned this much. Somebody is out to get Matt Murdock. Somebody who knows the right buttons to push with the right people. But who and why? I go home. More and more it feels like the only safe place. So there he is. This is another beautiful shot bouncing around the snowy rooftops of Manhattan. It isn't until I tried to fix dinner that I realised the power's off. So it's all going from bad to worse for Matt Murdock. The phone's cut off. It's been a day. One whole day. Everything going absolutely wrong for him. The first thing Foggy Nelson feels this morning, the next day, the sun's rising, is an irritating knot at the base of his skull. He forgets it as soon as he smells the frying bacon and eggs and pancakes. You can look at his popped eye there. He's waking up. Excellent, he did sleep on the couch. Foggy thinks he's died and gone to heaven. Must have. That's an angel. So this is Glory in the kitchen, cooking his breakfast. She glances at him. He feels her smile before he sees it. She doesn't say a word. It's really great prose by Miller. Really, really great stuff. Phone rings. And it is Matt on the line. And of course, like, this all reads kind of wrong. Why is Glory there in the morning, in the early morning? No, you didn't, Miss Stiles, she says to him. I'll put him on. So Foggy's there. Matt, hi, listen, the craziest thing happened last night. What? Hard to hear you, Matt. What? Where? A phone booth at this hour? Because, of course, the phone isn't working. It has been cut off in his own apartment. Did you say grand jury? He continues. No, I hadn't heard. Oh, golly, oh, golly. And Glory just really... There's nothing on her face there in respect of caring anymore about Matt, which is interesting. And then I love this, the Kingpin here, with the television screens around him, getting information, having meetings with his people. The next few hours go poorly for Matthew Murdock. He wreathes like a fly in a spider's web. My web, thinks the Kingpin, so carefully woven, so neatly placed. Great use of the duotone again on these particular panels, this middle tier of panels. We get a use of a screen tone here, the colour hold. Mazzucchelli using all the craft techniques at his disposal in the period, as well as cutting in white paint here for the Kingpin's plume of smoke from his cigar. And the Kingpin continues, the narration continues regarding the Kingpin's scheme. His plant at the law library reports to the crime lord of Murdoch's days spent working with his partner beyond all fatigue, striving to form a defence against the perfect frame. He's getting photographs of Matt as Matt is beginning to become despondent. Most delicious are the nights as low-level stoolies, like distant nerve endings, tell of increasingly violent, increasingly aberrant assaults by a warrior whose fists are no help against the corrosive gas that fills his life, assaults which climax in an enlightening episode. And it's this one that Daredevil is a lost man, thrashing Matt Murdock, he exclaims. Who's going to talk about Matt Murdock? And I love the little magenta band around the panel as well. He's beaten everyone to unconsciousness, crazed. No one tells him anything of value. No one could but I, continues the Kingpin, for I have kept my movements scattered among a dozen lieutenants, none of whom possess more than a single scrap of information. I've given the word from Stilson to Karen Page, all who might know will die. And that's from the beginning where he said, he's give the kill order, but hold until he tests the information. This is it. This is what he was waiting for. Daredevil is Matthew Murdock and more. There's a rift inside him, a wedge steadily weakening his reason, steadily driving him insane. And look at the evil grin on his face. The hearing is made noteworthy by the performance of Franklin Nelson, whose eye for legal detail and imaginative use of precedent caused me to make a note to have him hired. Through it all, I'm told Murdoch is a ghost, a shell of a man. Let's turn the page and see that. You can see his head bowed there. Even as he hears the much tempered verdict of the court that he will not face a prison sentence as I'd planned, that all he will lose is his license to practice law, whatever reactions he has are hidden, even, I suspect, from himself. He faces poverty and public shame. He will be hounded by doctored tax files, deprived of his very home. Survival will become his only concern. Is this enough for the Kingpin? Let's continue. He continues. Perhaps I will hire him, what is left of him after a time, after he's learned how powerless he is. His talents would be valuable, and his honor will crush itself. His talent? Yes, any man so dedicated as to pretend to blindness in daily life has surely developed a range of methods and techniques that would be an asset to my enterprises. An efficacious opponent. Still, he intrigues me. Still, I'm not satisfied. So the Kingpin doesn't get it, doesn't understand that Matthew Murdock truly is blind, and therefore Daredevil is blind too. He knows nothing about Daredevil's radar sense, so he doesn't have all the information. I should not tamper with this, he continues. I'm well positioned. I should leave him to the misery that awaits him. And he continues and concludes, I must deny myself the exquisite pleasure of a killing stroke. Will he be able to? Will he be able to resist? And so Foggy here, apologizing to Matt, and Matt saying, you were brilliant, Foggy. You kept me out of prison. I haven't done much to deserve this kind of friendship. I love this decision not to have any speech balloons in this panel. We've got the border, and then it's open as they embrace. It's really poignant. Let's continue. And then we're back to the beginning. Back to Karen Page. What's become of her? Remember, the Kingpin has said go on the kill order. Everyone from Karen Page on is to be eliminated. So she's making her way to Tonio there, or is it Raldo, whichever one. And he's been dealt with. He's dead. And also we get the revelation, again, just really the pathos of it. This guy, he'd said I still have some of my looks, enough for some of my looks. I'm just 25. Like, she's contemplating prostitution. But he's dead, and she still has that survival instinct. Even as she runs, she hates herself for the name that comes to her. The man who always helped, Matt. And that's amazing. She's betrayed him, and he's the one that she's thinking of, the only one who can help her. Great scene. We're coming towards the end of this. The notice of foreclosure sits too big in my jacket pocket. I've got 30 days to avoid repossession. By paying out money the IRS won't let me near. 30 days and $10 in my wallet. And I'm not a lawyer anymore. I'm not defeated either. Not yet. Maybe I've been thinking about it all wrong. Looking for a single enemy to pin it all on. Maybe it's everybody. From Internal Revenue to Con Ed to Ma Bell to Glory. I call Foggy at 7 in the morning and Glory answers. Foggy, he's in on it too. He's falling into paranoia here. And then he's thinking, on the other hand, no, Foggy stood up for me, fought for me. but that could be part of the plan. What am I thinking? Just tired, need to sleep in my own bed. Tomorrow I'll do something. Legs are shaky, must be nervous. No, it's the pavement, that rumble. And then wow. Would have been great if this was this should have been on a page turn. But still, it is just fantastic. Very difficult to draw an explosion like this. Tremendous. No sound effects needed. No dialogue. We get the reverse angle here on Matt. The explosion of the brownstone. His house, his home. And then the reflection of it. The runes of it. The smoking, burning runes of it. In the lens of his glasses. And just what a great upshot as well. Fantastic hatching and cross hatching. Really tremendous stuff. Use of the screen tone there as well for the reflective surface of the lens. Great stuff. There's one more page. I hear a baby crying. No, not a baby. Sirens, fire trucks. Guess I've been standing here for a while. Firemen take forever to show up. Traffic gets in their way. Dust. The dust is thick. Could choke on it. There's nothing left. So so that's why he's found the Daredevil costume. I never would have connected it to you. Nothing about it said gangster until this. It was a nice piece of work, Kingpin. You shouldn't have signed it. That's such a tremendous ending. The Kingpin, he was there. He was thinking, I must deny myself the exquisite pleasure of a killing stroke. He couldn't do it. He blew the thing up. Did he expect Daredevil or Matt to be inside? I think so. And what a conclusion. And next up, Purgatory. And so we're going to have that kind of biblical theme for the titles of the different chapters of Born Again. Let's see what they say about it here in the checklist. The Kingpin finds a way to destroy DD. Thanks to Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. Indeed. This is a perfect comic. How could you improve this? Like, what would you take away? What would you add? Nothing. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. A perfect comic. Daredevil 227. So, of course, now in March 2025, Daredevil Born Again, the Disney TV series, is available for streaming. And that's partly why I've decided to review this in connection with that. There's it's a loose adaptation of this storyline. So you tell me, which do you prefer? The Disney Daredevil Born Again or this, the original? Let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.